Every voice and sing, feel out and heaven ring, ring with a harmonies of liberty. Let the rejoicing rise, high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling seas. Sing the song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing the song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Placing the rising sun of the new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Slowly the road we trod, become a chasing rod, melt in the days when hope unborn at night, met with a steady beat, have not a weary feet, come to the place for which your Father signed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading the path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of that bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in thy path, we pray. Bless our feet straight from the places on path where we met thee. Bless our hearts drunk with the wine of the world we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, let me forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land.
Very well done, Steve. We thank you for that. Moving along, we are going to have one of our own, another one from our Clear Garvey Name Coalition, someone that needs no introduction, a legacy of our own, Mayor Hazel Rogers. Please take it away.
Good afternoon. I know you can't respond to me, but I know you can hear me. And I just want to say, united people, my family in this virtual world and environment. I can't see everyone. However, I know you can hear me. I know you can feel my heart. I know you can feel my passion and my pride. I am Hazel Rogers, Mayor of the We Care City of Lauderdale Heights in Broward County, Florida. August 1st is always a special day as we continue in this our adopted home to educate and celebrate emancipation, the enslavement of the people in the Caribbean, former British colonies. In the United States, June 19th, Juneteenth, is celebrated as the day slavery ended. Our theme for this year, Caribbean emancipation and infusion of Juneteenth and the historic perspective of Marcus Messiah Garvey. I am so happy we did not cancel this event. Some of our young people are with us that reflect their commitment to higher level of engagement. They deserve a sound and a resound round of applause because this is Sunday last few weeks of summer and the beginning of our sales tax holiday in Florida. They could be out spending money. They could be shopping and spending money. So give them a round of applause. Come on out. This is for our children. Everyone, you are in for a treat. Technology challenges did not stop this production, nor the Olympics, thanks to our many partners and especially our education committee. Sponsors, partners, you are a super, super awesome and special group. I see two of my colleagues on the line, and let me recognize Commissioner Carleen Maxwell Williams, and of course, Commissioner Veronica Edwards Phillips, and my co-chair, Vice Mayor Denise Grant, who you will hear from later, but I needed to and must acknowledge my colleagues. We are mentally free when we love ourselves. We must continue our education and understand and commit to economic freedom. We have power over our lives. Please, the coronavirus pandemic continues to be a killer, and the science proves that a pathway to survival and back to some kind of normalcy in our life is through this vaccine. Remember, like any medication, everyone reacts differently. I took mine. I vaxxed because I love my family, friends, and community. Take a look at who is taking the vaccine. Please continue to social distance and to wear your mask. Enjoy and be empowered by this program created for all of us to learn. Yes, it was designed just for us. I also invite you to sign the petitions and build support wherever you can for the resolution to exonerate Marcus Messiah Garvey. Thank you, Congresswoman Eva Clark, for sponsoring the resolution in the US Congress. United, engaged, awesome viewers across the world, please join me in welcoming our Vice Chair, Vice Mayor Denise Grant.
Thank you so much, Mayor Rogers, and hello to everyone who is watching virtually. This is an amazing event, and I am so pleased that Mayor Hazel Rogers, who has been the person that has ensured that we will never forget Marcus Garvey, we will never forget Emancipation Day, and we will never forget Juneteenth Day. And so she so brilliantly was able to put this together with a group of people who love freedom, who love unity, and who love progress. I am Denise D. Grant, Vice Mayor of the beautiful city of Lauderhill, which is very close to the city of Lauderdale Lakes. In fact, we are sister cities. A happy Emancipation Day as well to all Jamaicans. On this day in 1834, Black Africans enslaved in Jamaica were physically freed from the chains of bondage. Marcus Garvey, of course, Sr., was a Jamaican political activist, a publisher, a journalist, an entrepreneur, and an auditor. He was the founder and first president general of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the African Communities League. He was brave and courageous, whom he denounced limitations and refused to be immobilized by the physical, socioeconomic, emotional, psychological bondage that was bestowed upon the Black man. He was a revolutionist, a visionary, and a freedom fighter. His legacy is captivated by strength and great honor. His roots are deeply planted, and tonight I present Mrs. Jean Garvey, Marcus Garvey's daughter-in-law, to enlighten us with an organic glimpse into the heart of the world's national hero who sought to unify and connect people of African descent worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, please, for some of you who do not know, I introduce to you Miss Jean Garvey.
Back.
Can you hear me?
Of a link, but he's not answering his phone. Like just by logging in 2 hours of community service. And tomorrow, yeah, I send the link, but he's not on there. But that's kids.
Miss Garvey, please unmute.
But
You're good.
I'm good now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that wonderful introduction. As always, my name is Jean Garvey, and I must say good evening to everyone. I am delighted and honored to be in the company of friends, colleagues, other presenters, and listeners as we celebrate Emancipation Day. May we never, ever, ever forget. Thank this dedicated committee for inviting me to participate as we move forward. Now, bear with me a little as we explore how we got from there to where we are today. And I'm now talking about Emancipation Day. The dictionary defined emancipation as freedom from bondage, restraint, control, or power over another. For people of African descent, our meaning stands for our legal freedom from chattel slavery. Slavery was conducted for more than 150 years in the Caribbean by the British Empire and other colonialism nations, namely the French, the Dutch, etc. Intermittently, during that time, there was advocacy by many people, including clergy and others who were sympathetic and repulsed by the brutality of these acts. They therefore established a committee for the abolition of the slave trade. These men of goodwill campaigned from the 1780s until 1807. Eventually, in 1833, the Slave Abolition Act was passed in the British Parliament. The Great Slave Rebellion of 1332 in Jamaica helped propel the abolition movement also. However, it took another 31 years from 1807 for the Emancipation Act of 1838 to be passed into legal existence. Can you believe that? We always have to wait, don't we? In 1834, children under the age of 6, listen carefully, under the age of 6 were granted freedom, while older slaves were decreed as apprentices and forced to work 40 hours per week without pay. Did you ever wonder where that 40 hours per week came from? There, you got your answer. Yet, that was compensation to their slave owners. Full freedom for those older slaves then came to fruition 4 years later in 1838. The English-speaking Caribbean and other British-ruled colonies such as India and others were included in this act. In the United States, slavery and all forms of involuntary servitude, except for imprisonment, don't forget, ended in 1863. However, not all states were aware of this until 1865, with the addition of the 13th Amendment to the US Constitution. Emancipation Day, generally celebrated on the 1st of August, is recognized by many countries of the world, including the United States, Canada, South Africa, and many others, including the Caribbean islands. Of note, Trinidad and Tobago became the first independent country in the world to declare Emancipation Day a national holiday to commemorate the abolition of slavery and replacing Columbus Day, formerly a national holiday. Other areas of the world celebrate abolition from serfdom and other forms of involuntary servitude. Only in March of this year, note this, 2021, did the Canadian government officially designate August 1st as Emancipation Day, even though they celebrated, but it was not official. As independent nations, no longer under the shackles of colonialism, these nations control their own affairs and destinies. They established their own agendas. They wrote their own constitutions and instituted other symbols of nation building, such as symbols of the flag, their own emblems, such as their coat of arms, their own armies. They no longer reported to the British, and the British were out. They established their own currencies and passports. Economic, commercial, educational, and other supportive systems of nation building were put in place. They also established diplomatic relations, embassies abroad. They joined international governmental groups such as the UN and the World Bank, and had worldwide membership of note in other areas. Next steps from here, where do we go? Let me see a resounding applause for reparations. That's next on our agenda, and we have to see to it. As they say, the rest is history. I close on that note as far as emancipation goes. Now, do you want me to continue on with the exoneration?
Yes, please.
Yes, please. Okay. Thank you very much.
Certainly, it is my pleasure. Now, the exoneration of Marcus Messiah Garvey, human rights activist, champion for the liberation of peoples of African descent worldwide, greatest Pan-Africanist leader ever, and founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League, commonly known as the UNIA and ACL. Even though you may be aware of many of the information about him, let me remind you of a little of the background and the genesis leading up to this action. Little more than 100 years ago, Marcus Garvey and the organization he founded, the UNIA and ACL, assembled some 2,500 plus delegates from all over the world for the very first ever international convention of the Negro peoples of the world. Among some of the 54 resolutions passed at that convention were the establishment of the founding of a Pan-African nation without borders, complete with its own flag, the red, black, and green, a national anthem, the Universal Ethiopian Anthem, a celebration to celebrate a holiday to celebrate the nation, established as August 31st. He also established a fleet of ships, the Black Star Line, to transport cargo and passengers between the African continent, the Caribbean, and the Americas. He also established the Negro Factories Corporation, a chain of grocery stores, restaurants, millineries, and a publishing house from which he published his paper, The Negro World. Just imagine this being done by a Black man in 1920. That was unheard of at that time. This demonstration of economic strength and power shocked the foundation of the British and French colonialism nations and the racist systems of the United States. Needless to say, all these were backed by the African League. Well, needless to say, they did not sit well with the colonial masters, and Marcus Garvey immediately became a marked man and the target for destruction by the US and other European nations. Can you believe they joined forces to prohibit Mr. Garvey from traveling to the African continent so he could not spread his philosophy of Garveyism as a transformational movement and freeing of the minds of the Black populace? J. Edgar Hoover, then a young upstart at the Bureau of Investigation, the BOI, that's the precursor to the FBI, immediately started to find ways to curtail the success of such ambitious plans and to silence this outspoken activism, and talk of Black nationalism. The organization was spied on, disrupted, and sabotaged. an attempt was made on Garvey's life. He was wounded by 4 bullets, but he survived. His assailant was captured in the Liberty Hall headquarters in Harlem. That's where Marcus Garvey had his original headquarters. And interestingly, the perpetrator was said to have committed suicide 24 hours later while in police custody. Need we have to wonder about this narrative? The Bureau even hired the first Black FBI agent to spy on Garvey, a first for the organization. In 1923, the Attorney General of New York brought charges of conspiracy to commit mail fraud against Mr. Garvey. He was tried and convicted in 1925, with the only evidence being an empty envelope presented by a perjured juror witness who couldn't remember what was in the envelope. Just imagine that in today's day in court. He served 2 years and 9 months in the federal penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia. His sentence was subsequently commuted by then President Calvin Coolidge, and he was immediately deported back to his homeland of Jamaica in 1927. Since then, thousands, if not millions, of Africans worldwide have protested this grave injustice. Fast forward to a more current time. In 1987, the 2 Garvey children appeared before the House Judiciary Committee, chaired by Representative John Conyers at the time, and gave testimony along with historians, Doctors John Clark, Tony Martin, Robert Hill, and Judith Stein, all declaring Mr. Garvey's innocence. The Honorable Charles R. Rangel, now deceased, chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, co-sponsored House resolutions annually for several years to exonerate Mr. Garvey, to no avail. It should be noted that we need the cooperation of other representatives to help move this along. As recently as 2015, then President Barack Obama was petitioned to clear Garvey's name by issuing a posthumous pardon declaring his innocence. The analysis of the trial, its illegal and unjust proceedings were well documented by the Washington-based law firm of Aiken, Gump, Strauss, Hank, and Feld LLP. It did not happen then, and President Obama left office with no response. Marcus Messiah Garvey, this iconic figure and champion for the liberation of peoples of African descent worldwide, deserves to have his good name cleared. Our own Jamaican representative, Ms. Yvette D. Clarke of the 9th Congressional District of New York, introduced House Resolution Bill number 148 to the US Congress, asking for the exoneration of the Right Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, first national hero of Jamaica, to clear his good name and affirm his innocence of crimes for which he was unjustly prosecuted and convicted. At this juncture, we will ask that all of our listeners and participants write to their various congressional representatives to support House Resolution Bill number 148 in this upcoming session of the US Congress. Thanks so much in advance for your support. This really needs wide education to our populace. The time has come. It is now. Thank you so much, and I hope you learned a little bit of what took place way back then.
A great summary, a absolutely great summary of his life and the challenges that he's had, and a great summary of what actually took place back in 1922 and 1920 to 22.
23 and 25.
Yes, it's really, really one of those things that we need to take off of the books and take him away and take him out of that really awkward. It was a bad situation for us as Black people.
Absolutely.
For a person who has shown the Black race how to take themselves out of slavery, how to get their minds into another place, to start building on self, building on industry, building on a culture, and he was wronged. And
Yes.
so I really thank you for that. It is something that everyone needs to know. And at
Thank
this
you so much.
Yes. And at this time, I'd like to ask everyone who's listening, and when we share this at the end by tomorrow, we want everyone to be able to sign the petition, because there is a petition out there and we need you to sign the petition. And while you look at the petition, I want to say thanks to some of our sponsors who have made this possible. On behalf of our Mayor Hazel Rogers, want to thank Caribbean American, is this Chamber of Commerce? Yes, Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce. We want to thank Roots Foundation, Inc. We want to thank Fresco, Grace Kennedy, JDIAS, that's JADIAS. We want to thank Waste Management. We want to thank also the Partners for Youth Foundation, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. And if I missed anyone, please forgive me. There's one here that I am unable to read. It's Comfort Care. Comfort Care.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Could you tell us what the link is to sign?
We will share the link in our chat and also make sure that we get that out. But if everybody will go to the clairegarveyname.org as well, the link will be posted there on our website. And we would like everyone, please remember to sign the petition. Please, that's extremely important.
Yes, thank you so much.
As we have this discussion and we heard from Mrs. Garvey, I know we have children on this line. And for me, the focus is all about our children because they are our future and we are counting on you. When you go back to your parents, when you get off the line, we're asking you to encourage your parents to sign the petition, right? Because you heard it. You can tell your own story, right? We know you're young. We know you're gifted. You know you're Black and you're living in America, and we have our Black Lives Matter. We have a lot of struggles going on. We have COVID that is playing mental games with our children. We have your back, and we just want you to know that. So we are so happy that you joined in and you're listening and you're learning, and you too will share. You will continue to share this information, right? We're counting on you.
Thank you, Mrs. Garvey. Wonderful.
You're very welcome. Anytime.
Thank you all for participating in that discussion. And I definitely learned a lot. I'm one of those that understood the name, knew the message from Bob Marley's song, but had so much more to learn. So this has been a great process for me. I am going to move us along with someone else that knows a lot about Marcus Garvey, and I'm going to ask Mr. Jeff to introduce Jabulani for us, please, if you can.
Michelle, before Mr. Jeff introduces Jabulani, I just would like Leo and yourself to just advise our viewers in terms of where we are streaming. I believe we are on jamaicas.com. Leo, or what other outlets are we streaming on so that our viewers and those who are listening can go on and view us as well there?
Okay, we're on YouTube. That's JD Tan, JD, I'm sorry, it's It's youtube.com/JDTAN TV. That's JDTAN TV. Again, it's youtube.com/JDTAN TV.
And so we can go on YouTube, and then from there we can share it to our different social media outlets, right?
Yes, you can share it anywhere.
Okay.
I've shared it several times here. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
And Lee, I believe we're also streaming on a couple of other sources. Was that Jamaicans.com as well?
We're streaming on mightyinforcers.com.
Yes.
And I think that's it. YouTube.
Okay.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you. All right, Mr. Jeffrey, take us away.
Greetings, everyone. Jabulani Tafari is a leading scholar and a tireless activist who has spearheaded the Roots Foundation annual celebration of the birthday of Marcus Garvey on August the 17th. The author of A Rastafari View of Marcus Garvey, Jabulani Tafari is uniquely qualified to give us a proper historical context for the struggle to restore the good name of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, my good friend, Jabulani Tafari.
Unmute.
Fine. Okay, there we go. I'm here.
The mic is yours.
The mic is
Go ahead
yours.
and speak.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm just not seeing myself, so. Okay, good evening, everyone. Of course, in the 1990s, Marcus Garvey was the godfather of Black Lives Matter. So as such, he was the most beloved Black man by Black people, and he was also the most hated Black man by white people. So that's why they decided they needed to frame him and eventually deport him. So this is a little of his story. Of course, he was accused of leading a conspiracy to use the US mail with criminal intent to solicit money for stocks in the Black Star Line shipping company, knowing that the venture was financially worthless. So in 1923, the US federal court sentenced Marcus Garvey alone by himself for mail fraud, while the three other co-defendants in the case were acquitted of any complicity in the so-called crime. Judge Julian Mack fined Garvey $1,000 and gave him the maximum sentence of 5 years in the Atlanta State Prison, starting in 1925. Now, conspiracy. A conspiracy is defined as the secret planning by a group of people to do something illegal. First of all, the Black Star Line and the promotion of the company was no secret. It was being done publicly all over the place. Garvey was speaking on street corners, in church halls, anywhere a venue was available. He was preaching and promoting the Black Star Line in public. So there was no secret planning. And of course, buying ships was not illegal, even though maybe the white power structure hated the idea of Black people buying big boats. Now, the money collected for the stocks in the Black Star Line by the UNIA actually bought 5 boats. So the money wasn't misappropriated out of the box. That's the first thing. In terms of the sentence, one person cannot be guilty of a conspiracy all by himself. And let me say, I am not a lawyer. So this is not a legal opinion. This is my overstanding of the legal situation using common sense. And we all can use common sense when we watch the news or read history books or whatever. So using common sense, it's obvious that one person cannot be convicted all by himself and be guilty of a conspiracy. Now, as Mrs. Garvey said earlier, the letter submitted as evidence of the alleged crime was actually an empty envelope, which was not mailed by Marcus Garvey himself. So Marcus Garvey was actually a victim of one of the earliest 20th century forms of conspiracy theory. They talk about conspiracy theories. This was a conspiracy theory. And of course, since then, many leading legal authorities and other independent sources have agreed that the charges against Garvey were unsubstantiated and were in fact fabricated by the young J. Edgar Hoover and the Bureau of Investigation, now the FBI, as part of the government's effort to destroy Garvey's multi-million member transnational organization, the UNIA. In plain words, he was framed and railroaded. Now, at the time, the all-white jury in the case issued a statement favoring Marcus Garvey's release, and metropolitan newspapers like the Daily News in New York City demanded that he be pardoned. And in 1925, President Calvin Coolidge commuted the prison sentence and had Garvey deported back to Jamaica, one of the first Jamaican deportees. And today, some of those deportees might be real criminals, whatever, but Marcus Garvey was a political prisoner who was framed and saddled with an unjust criminal record. Let's be clear about that. Now, to quote from Garvey himself, they mentioned, well, I'm not on camera, so to quote Marcus Garvey, and this is a quote now, quote, "My downfall was planned by my enemies. They did all kinds of traps for me. They scattered their spies amongst the employees of the Black Star Line and the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Our office records were stolen. Employees started to be openly dishonest. We could get no conviction against them. Even if, on complaint, they were held by a magistrate, they were dismissed by the grand jury. The ship's officers started to pile up thousands of dollars of debts against the company without the knowledge of the officers of the corporation. Or ships at sea, and there was a general riot of wreck and ruin. Officers of the Universal Negro Improvement Association also began to steal and to be openly dishonest. I had to dismiss them," unquote. And again, in a famous speech delivered at the Harlem Liberty Hall in New York in September 1923, Garvey was very clear again about what transpired in his frame-up trial. And again, I quote, "The amusing part of my trial is that I was indicted along with others for conspiracy to use the United States mail to defraud in the promotion of the Black Star Line Steamship Company. Yet my conviction was void of conspiracy in that I alone was convicted. And if I understand my conviction clearly, I was convicted for selling stock in the Black Star Line after I knew it to be insolvent. All the others who had more to do with the actual selling of the stock than I went free because they were not wanted," unquote. So clearly, Marcus Garvey's conviction was unwarranted and unjust, and hence efforts from the 1920s up to now, almost 100 years later, to have his name cleared. And let us be clear. Some people say pardoned. Okay, a pardon kind of infers that you were guilty of something that you need to be pardoned for. We want Marcus Garvey to be exonerated. In other words, to have it known that the charges against him were unfounded in the first place. So he was guilty of nothing and is not in need of a pardon. He needs his name to be cleared. Now, we at Roots Foundation, ever since 2005, when the Reverend Weeder McDonald came down from Hartford, Connecticut, where the city council there has been seeking pardons and exonerations going back into, from the last 20 odd years. She came down here, moved to Fort Lauderdale, and at our annual Roots Extravaganza, we have been promoting and collecting signatures for Garvey's exoneration. Jeffrey himself has started a petition a couple of years back, and we supported it again, the Roots Foundation, and at our Roots Extravaganza. When Baba Julius in the last year of President Obama again tried to get the exoneration through the door. And although Obama pardoned over 1,000 various people for some reason, which I guess shows the politics behind this, although it would have put a feather in his cap, and all of us would have loved Obama even more if he had done this. He didn't do it. So here we are again, going over the same old. So I want to commend Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, Mayor Hazel Rogers, Consul General Oliver Meir, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, and everyone else taking part in this Clear Garvey's Name endeavor for taking up the baton once again to do what needs to be done. Because any one of us, if we had a father, a son, a brother, a friend who was accused of any kind of crime of which they were not guilty, all of us would do our best to try to clear their name. Now, Marcus Garvey, having done so much for African Black people worldwide, we owe him.
Mr. Jabulani, the passion is unheard of. It's you. I adore your passion. It really comes from the heart. I can tell that you are really in tune and know everything that there is to know about Marcus Garvey, and you really would like to see this exoneration. So I am going to lead us into Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, who can tell us a little bit more about how we're going to get there. And Congresswoman Clarke, I believe you are on, so the floor is all yours.
Very well, and good evening and greetings to everyone from, actually, I'm in Queens, New York, seated in my vehicle just outside of our annual Jamaica Independence Service here in New York City. But I could not miss this opportunity at the invitation of my dear sister, the Honorable Mayor Hazel Rogers, Vice Mayor Denise Grant, and everyone who had a hand in organizing this evening's gathering. As a Jamaican American woman who holds the electoral franchise of the people of the 9th District of New York, it brings me great pride as we stand together today in our collective outrage and righteous indignation over the travesty of the prosecution of the Right Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. And in that vein, I'm here to join you today to encourage you to keep the pressure on. You all know that I've introduced a bill in Washington, D.C. to exonerate the Right Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. Your last presenter was absolutely correct. There is a significant difference between a pardon and exoneration. Exoneration is the clearing of one's name. Pardoning is almost a recognition of a crime, but it gives the power to the president or whomever to be able to essentially excuse the conduct for which you were convicted. And we are saying that there needs to be daylight and disinfectant given to the case of the Right Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, who committed no crime other than a mass movement that moved and shook the world, a movement that indicated to everyone that we as a people throughout the African diaspora can determine our own destiny, can be entrepreneurial, and can be our humanity can be lifted without question. And our talent, skill, and expertise is equal, unequal to any others. And so let us remain focused on the work that needs to be done in Washington, D.C. to press for this exoneration. The bill has been introduced and it sits within the Judiciary Committee of the House of Representatives. And let me not act as though this is an effort that I have done by myself. This bill is co-sponsored, but was started by my predecessors in Washington, D.C. The Honorable Charles Rangel of Harlem had championed alongside the Honorable, the former chair of the Judiciary Committee, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And so we've got work to do. As the Honorable Nancy Pelosi often says, with public sentiment is everything. Without it, we can get nothing done. With it, we can win. And so I want to encourage everyone and thank you most of all for being the wind beneath my wings, for galvanizing across this nation. And we really need to make sure that our voices are heard in Washington, D.C., that we expect that the bill to exonerate the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey will be examined, brought to the committee for dispensation, and then brought to the floor for a vote. We have volumes of information, of corrective measures that speak to the innocence of Marcus Garvey and the corruption of Herbert Hoover. And so I think it's the time is right. When we talk about Black Lives Matter, that means our history matters. It means that the disruption of what was a historic movement to liberate people of African descent worldwide was disrupted. And we need to make sure that we clear Marcus Garvey's name and really place him in the historic context of the liberators of people of African descent, of the entrepreneurs who have been prolific in lifting up their people. And so let me, first of all, just thank you once again for inviting me to address you here today. I would not miss this opportunity to encourage you, to thank you and express my gratitude. And on this day that is celebrated in Jamaica, Emancipation Day, let us emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, because no one but ourselves can free our minds. As has been stated by Robert Nesta Marley, let us move forward boldly with conviction to pass legislation in the United States Congress, have signed into law by Joe Biden, the exoneration of the Right Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. Thank you. And as we say in Washington, D.C., I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful display there for us. I couldn't have said that any better. and as I don't want us to forget, I really don't want us to forget the fact that Marcus Garvey was the ultimate businessman. I should not forget that without Twitter, without Facebook, without social media, that man brought 2 million Black Americans together in 1920s, okay? And it is said that more than 4 million across the world were impacted by this man. So let's not forget about his impact. Let's include that in our path forward. And at this time, I'd like to bring Mr. Malachi Smith for his delivery. Thank you.
A little entertainment, I see. Very nice.
Lose 88. I'm a jukes and I get sitting in limbo and meditate. and a dry tree stump on a hillside outside a city named Blues 88. History pump like blood through my vein. Before them I wonder if I gone insane. I start to sing a slow song. Many rivers to cross, but just where to begin, I don't really know. A sad song, a deep one, verses long like history, deeper than the Nile, added to the Mississippi that stretched beyond the frontier of time to the dawn of civilization, where man moves rocks to higher heights, building monuments upon the Nile, pyramids and kingdom to testify of Egypt, Ethiopia, Somalia, Swaziland, South Africa, Tanzania, Tunisia, Ghana, Nigeria, Libya, Mali, Congo, Chad, land of great kings, noble forefathers. I sing of my father David, my mother Sheba, my brother Solomon, Shaka, Sam Sharp, Bookman, Tossad, Bogo, Biko, Mali, Marcus, Tosh, Martin executed, Malcolm assassinated, all tombed in the bosom of the Nile. Clock strikes 9, reality invade my mind, I prips my TV set and see Debbie, the ebony beauty figure skater from America, winning a gold medal at Calgary, going for the goal, the pressure and this stress of a cold blue world invade her mind, so she slip and fell, but rise again to white blue cheers, white blue hugs, a brand blue medal, black blue disappointment, rage and abandonment. Talk about she didn't want to be a role model. Still don't know themselves, still a glorify white man theory, so them a monkey, so them run from them reality like Humpy Dumpy. I wonder if she ever stopped to read our history. After warriors who fought to make us free, who sang the blues on the plantation, who were executed for altering the white man's plan, true role models in the emancipation of Rosa, sweet, sweet flower, pretty black queen from Alabama, tired of the oppression and disposition of a system welded together with satanic precision, sat blue in the front of a white bus and cars and almighty rockers. Enough coffers went empty, enough lose them sanity. Others woke up to reality singing the blues. Need niggas to keep the must rolling, need niggas to keep the money flowing, need niggas so we can get paid, scrap this stupid system today. Rosa was a true champion of Nanny, great maroon warrior, heroine of Jamaica, the greatest skater of all time. Used to skate on rocks and prickles barefoot from Blue Mountain Peak in the east to Maroon Town in the west. With magical artistry to Kumina and John Cano, rhythm with triple jumps and flips, somersaulting across gapping ravines and death stark precipice, ambushing the evil ones. Survivors call her a woman. Lie. Nanny was a true champion who sang the blues all her life. Of hunger, of no shelter, of being a nobody, yet she outskated them time and time again. I sing the blues for Nanny and crown her heroine of a whole race. Of Daddy Marcus, Field Marshal, Admiral, General, who raised up an army spanning continents, parading black pride and dignity, commanded up, you mighty race. One God, one aim, one destiny, prosecuted, robbed, ridiculed, shot and jailed, died of the blues of Sam Sharp. A privileged house slave, tired of the blue situation, got mad and burned on half of an island. A lot of people went to bed without supper that night, but for once somebody did something right. Of Muhammad Ali, who floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee, spat straight in the face of the society, sent to jail and teared down, defending life and freedom. A toss a stone in a pool, sending out ripples and CNN. Jesse Jackson, my friend, poor back fella from down south, I beat them all about, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. Wisdom of Solomon, punching harder than Ali, and beat them here, and beat them there, and kick them butts everywhere, and give Ed Grass, Regan here, Bush something to make him brave. Meese, I run, meese, I run. Still Dukakis win the race. What a disgrace. Confused. I pick up a copy of the morning news and it's just blues. A regular story. Just a slight change in the plot and a new character. A black man nailed to a blue cross against a black white backdrop. Alcee Yestin, another victim of the blue system. framed like a picture, betrayed and crucified like a dog, and all of we turn our backs with our tails between our legs. Not one dog bark, not one dog bite. Every man accept defeat without a fight. Next stage, apartheid in South Africa spills over the border. Thousands of blacks murdered, millions sentenced to life in mental penitentiary. No one no guilty. In Overtown, Trigger happy couple lick shot, 2 more black birds fall dead. I feel a surge. I see the Nile and Mississippi muddy, bloody. I hit the sky, my whole body screaming, tears cannot materialize revolutionary dreams. Remember McKay, if we must die, let us die. Let our mothers die, let our fathers die, let our brothers die, let our sisters die, let our children die if we must die. But if we must live, let us live in dignity. Stop, look, sympathy, make a plan, execute it, man, live the land. Rise up as one, as Sam Sharp, as Toussaint, as Nani, as Rose, as Bogue, as Malcolm, as Martin, as Marley, as Nkrumah, as Mandela, as Marcus, one God, one aim, one destiny. Let's leave the hard-shed mentality, the plantation mentality, the concrete hell mentality, the inner city mentality, the junkie bandwagon mentality, the crab in a barrel mentality. Tear down Babylon construct, find your roots, blow your African flutes, out of many one, solidarity, reality.
Awesome, awesome. Isn't that just special? It speaks to the occasion. And Malachi, we thank you. And at this time, we know that we're pushing our petition. And when the Congresswoman, I hope she's still online, she challenged us to be engaged. This is a grassroots movement. I don't know if you were listening. We cannot make this happen without the entire Congress understand this is what the community wants. So I know we have a group that is viewing us, that's on YouTube and everywhere in the virtual world. We need for you to sign the petition right now. Take a moment. I know you're doing other things with those thumb. Go ahead and get online and do that petition. And the cities across the state, across these United States, I can share with you, the city of Lauderdale Lakes and the city of Lauderhill passed their resolution. And we are going to continue to push the resolutions as well as the petition. But we can't do this by ourselves. We have to be united. We have to take ownership. We have to be engaged. And yes, we can, because it was done in times when, like you said, there was no technology. So with the technology that we have, we can make this happen. And it must happen this time around. Right, Jabulani? Not next session. It has to happen now. And it cannot be done without everyone on this line. So I thank you all. So petition, go ahead, use those thumbs, get online and get your petition in. And I yield.
Thank you, Mayor.
My colleague stated.
And while you say that, Mayor Rogers, I just want to say as well that the Urban League of Broward County, the youth are on as well. This is a message from Ms. Monique Zelene. So we just want to welcome them, of course.
And of course, thank you, Vice Mayor. We have the group from the city of Lauderdale Lakes. They're also online, and also the Kiwanis Club of the city of Lauderdale Lakes. We're just doing awesome things with our children. They need to be on this call. We made sure they're here and they're listening, and they know we have high expectations for all of them. So thank you, Urban League. Thank you, Kiwanis of Lauderdale Lakes. And of course, thank you, Lauderdale Lakes. And I see my two colleagues on the line. Couldn't have done it without you. Back, turning my mic back over to you guys, yielding my time.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I appreciate that. I'm actually going to switch things up a little bit since you talked about us signing the petition. And here we're going to go right into Ms. Gwinnett, who's going to explain a little bit about what's going on with the website and cleargarveyname.org. Gwinnett, if you are ready, the mic is yours. You're still on mute, Miss Gwinnett. Gwinnett, you there?
I saw her just now.
I am.
There you go, ma'am. All righty. If you, we're going to talk
Are
a
you
little
hearing
bit.
me now? It was
Yes,
saying
ma'am. We are.
muted. Thank you. All right. Pleasure to be here again. Like everyone said before me, I learned so much. Thought I knew about Marcus Garvey, but just in working on this project, learned so much more. And I'm sure that there's so much more that I have to learn. We've created the website, and it is clairegarveyname.org. That's clairegarveyname.org. We are going to have the .com as well come on site. Going to be the same information, and that is currently a portal for events that we have. It is the petition is on that as a link. We did the petition through change.org and added it to the site. And the more people that we actually get to sign the petition, the more visible the petition becomes. So it is very, very important that we have folks just get us past 100 names signed and actually get us past 200 names signed, because I've seen that there've been previous petitions at 200 and they stalled out. I know we could do a lot better. We have the website done, clairegarveyname.org. This program is going to be posted on there. The event is actually posted on there. Everything that we do with regards to this initiative, we're going to ensure that the information is updated on the website and also carried on social media platforms. We're currently creating the Facebook page and the Instagram and Twitter for it. So within the week, those will be up. But we just ask you to share the information. People can actually subscribe on the website so that they could stay in touch, so that we could keep them updated as we go along. But again, on the website, it actually asks if not only do you share the petition, but we ask that you walk around your house, you call your friend circle and ask 10 people to share. So that's something that I would actually like to task everyone here. I'm going to be doing that. And I just ask everyone that's listening to just get us 10 signed. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwinnett.
Michelle, I just need to say thanks to Gwinnett, and to mention, we keep mentioning Jamaica, and we know everyone on this line, all of our partners are not from Jamaica. Gwinnett is from Guyana. I see Glenn, who we know is from Trinidad and Tobago. Michelle, I don't know where to place you. Your mama is Jamaican and your father is American, and here you go. All right, so she's American, Miss Jean. All right, we give her that, and we have so many. And the kids that are on the line from Lauderdale Lakes, they asked me to remember what is their new, what did they, change makers. That's how they have identified themselves over this summer. So we have the change makers from Lauderdale Lakes, the We Care City, on the line, ready to do great things. So I just had to big up my city once again. What can I say?
Always unexpected, Mayor. Completely expected. We are going to actually go into a little bit on Juneteenth right now. So a couple of your friends, Mayor, Lavoyd and Charles, are going to do a little bit of a discussion. And I think we are ready for that. So let's take a look.
Thanks to my two colleagues, I call them my historian, former Commissioner Lavoyd Williams from the We Care City of Lauderdale Lakes. Mr. Claude Louisant, when we met, he was always political, but he was a historian. He knew about his country, not only his country, he could talk about the Caribbean, and we have had those discussions. So today we are focused on the Caribbean emancipation, the infusion of Juneteenth, and a historical perspective on Marcus Messiah Garvey as we empower our youth and prepare them for their future. I thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
All right, Hazel, thank you again. And Claude, what you were saying is absolutely correct about the importance of Haiti as it develops to America. But we all also have to understand that no matter where you are, if you're an African people, you have always been connected. And what we have to do is stop let people separate us based just upon where we come from. Because no matter whether you landed in Haiti, if you landed in Jamaica, if you landed in Brazil, if you landed in the United States, you still have the same problems. Now, we all got liberated at different times, but at no point in time did the majority of the African people always were enslaved. They have never believed that they were slaves. But what has happened is we have allowed our captors to determine where we are and what we should celebrate. Give you a good example. When I tell people about the Emancipation Proclamation, we don't celebrate that, but we used to celebrate it. Every Sunday, the first Sunday of the Sunday before, not the Sunday, but the day before the New Year's, they used to have watch night services. And that watch night services was saying that I come to watch me become free, because on January 1st, 1863, Americans, enslaved people were in the slave states were set free. But now today, if you ask most of those churches, they will say we're watching a new year coming in, not realizing that we are celebrating our freedom. That's why it's important to know these dates, because once you stop celebrating who you are, celebrating your greatness, then you become somewhat obsolete in ways that they feel. They begin to use languages that take the languages from you. That's why when Carter G. Woodson wrote The Miseducation of the Negro, he said it is important that we understand that you are not being educated when you're educating yourself about other people's cultures. We need to educate ourselves about our culture, from Africa to Haiti to Jamaica to Brazil, all over. But we don't get these dates. And by not doing these dates, we allow ourselves to be marginalized. Where is it? When the Declaration of Independence and Independence Day, July the 4th, we celebrate July the 4th like crazy, but we don't celebrate the emancipation, or we don't celebrate Juneteenth. Now, sometimes, like the Jamaican people, they do celebrate their history of being free, but there are so many steps in their freedom that we don't know about and we don't look for. And when you come to America, we've got to understand that we are all here together.
Commissioner Williams, I agree with you, and I would like to add something else here. Emancipation is not a journey, but a destination. And if there is one person who is synonymous with emancipation, it's Bookman. This gentleman is probably one of the greatest human beings I've ever walked the face of the earth. He was born, he became famous. It's also very interesting that Marcus Garvey was born in Jamaica, but it was in the United States he became world renowned and became famous. So to go back to in the history of Haiti, in the history of the world, and especially in the history of the diaspora, is that he recognized the damage that was done to Black people during the time of slavery. He decided that the only way he would be able to emancipate Black people is to make sure they would experience almost like a rebirth. And that's what you may call as the process of emancipation, to be freed from slavery mentally and spiritually. So Bookman was able to emancipate a generation of men and women, and when he did, that generation was able to stood up against the French, and they were able to defeat them. And that was back in 1791. And imagine, ladies, never regained control of Saint-Domingue, modern-day Haiti. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes, and that is exactly right. And leading on to Garvey, and like you said, Garvey got his fame while he was in America, but he had the same principles and said, if we're going to truly be free, we have got to have separate nations. We've got to separate ourselves. Now, we are not able to do that right now, and I don't know if we want to do that, but at least we've got to understand who we are and begin to value our institutions. Why do we evaluate Harvard, who was an institution that helped put us enslaved, spent millions of dollars to keep us enslaved, and yet we think the education that we get from them is more important than we get from ourselves? The 13th Amendment ended slavery. You know, everybody, it wasn't just this Emancipation Proclamation, it was 1813, but it was the 14th Amendment that gave us the right to citizenship. You know, that's important. That's important for every immigrant. So if you are born in America, you are automatically a citizen. That's one of the things that Donald Trump was trying to get rid of, the 14th Amendment, but he couldn't get rid of it by legislation because it's in the Constitution. Because if you're born in America, no matter if you came here yesterday and you were born here today, then you are a naturalized citizen. I mean, you're a citizen. But there are some basic things that we have to believe that are true. We've got to believe that we were enslaved people, that we have to believe that we are the mothers and fathers of civilization. If we believe Africa is the center and the start of civilization. And no matter where you look at it, if you look at UNESCO, which is the branch of the world that determines what history is valid, if you look at UNESCO, it clearly states that Africa is the center of civilization, yet most of our children do not know it, and they need to feel that they are proud of who they are. When they look in the mirror, they need to begin to say, I am who I am because I am the beginning. We cannot move forward until we understand that we are all in this together.
And Commissioner, that is an awesome way to have a conversation, around the national anthem of Haiti. And Claude, amongst us, there are no, and I need you
traitors among us. But if you allow me, Madam Mayor, to quickly go back to Marcus Garvey. It's interesting that Marcus Garvey came to prominence during a very difficult period in African history. Imagine this, there were only 3 Black independent countries in the world at the time. You only had Haiti, Liberia, and Ethiopia. But during that period, Haiti ended up inviting the United States to take control of all its public administration. So technically Haiti was under American occupation. Imagine Italy invaded Ethiopia, and for a time, the nation of Ethiopia was under Italian control. And Liberia, as you already know, was always influenced by the United States. So it was during that time that Marcus Garvey was talking about his philosophy of Pan-Africanism, the idea of self-reliance, unity, and pride. I'm so proud to tell you today that the man was so far advanced of his time that for the first time in the history of Africa, this year, Africa started the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. That brings every single country in the African continent to do business together. This is exactly what Marcus Garvey was envisioning. Do you know how many people can benefit from it? You're talking 1.3 billion people across Africa, generating $3.4 trillion. The only people who are missing are the very people whom that Marcus Garvey was trying to influence right here in the United States. We should go back to Africa the same way the United States has gone to Europe to help build the European Union, to help build NATO. Right now, as we speak, Africa desperately needs its children from the United States, its children from Jamaica, its children from Haiti to help transform Africa into one of the most competitive economic market in the world. That was the vision of Marcus Garvey, and it has come to pass.
And we are his legacy, and we have a role to play in this. But we have to oftentimes we forget that we were enslaved. I know Lavoie will say that all the time, but I'm taking you back because I like your national anthem because it speaks truth to reality, and it's still happening today. So we need to speak about that. So Claude, take me amongst us, no traitors. How do you interpret that?
Well, imagine this. Sometime we may have leaders who speak on our behalf. And it's so difficult for human beings not to be enticed with power, with wealth. Imagine great leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King never made any money. Technically, you could say the only money he ever made was when he won the Nobel Peace Prize. You know what he did with that money? He reinvested that money into the movement. Dr. King didn't leave his wife and kids millions of dollars. You look at somebody like one of the greatest leaders of our time, Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela spent the best years of his life in prison. At any given time, he could have made a compromise to walk out, take a big job with the white governments or to just get some money and go away. No, his purpose was greater than that. And that's the kind of leadership that we need, people who will not betray our aspiration as a people.
And Claude, I know what Hazel was getting at, or Mayor Rogers was getting at, is that there are no traitors among us. But if you listen to the last verse of the Negro National Anthem, what does it say? True to my God, true to my native land. And that part we don't talk about, because the African people in the early 1800s and 1900s, they understood that our destiny was tied together, and that if we want to succeed, we have to be true to our God, true to our native land. And those are the things that we have to remember. Most people don't understand that W.E.B. Du Bois left this country. He started the NAACP, but because he became more, he kept evolving, that at one point in time, the NAACP denounced the guy who created them, because he said we have to be more in tune to Africa. When we went over to Africa, we went to Accra, I think it was Accra and Gambia, and they have a statue of W.B. Du Bois. Those are the kind of things that we have to start looking at, and we need to look at the leaders in Africa. Look, we
can continue this conversation. If I was in person, I would say, my brothers, you did an awesome job. You truly got the message, and we have already decided we're going to have another conversation. So I just want to say thank you for joining us today, and looking forward to part 2.
Excellent.
That was an engaging conversation there, Leo. I know you
That was fun. And then I love talking to you about this. I mean, that was really, they had me captivated. I wanted to read a quote from Marcus Garvey, and I think you've heard it before today. He says, "We are going to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. For though others may free the body, none but ourselves can free the mind. Mind is our only ruler, sovereign. The man who is not able to develop and use his mind is bound to be the slave of another man who uses his mind, because man is related to man under all circumstances, for good or ill." Go ahead, Michelle.
And with that, we are going to take it over to Mr. Jeffrey, who will talk to us a little bit about his book. And Jeffrey, please, the floor is yours.
Greetings, I'm Jeffrey Philp, author of the young adult novel, Garvey's Ghost. And I want to thank you, the audience, for tuning in tonight. I also want to give a special welcome to the change makers. Change makers, we cannot do this without you. We need you. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, just some, what does this light-skinned brother know about Marcus Garvey? It turns out a lot, but knowledge isn't everything. As the Bible says, and I know it's Sunday so I can get away with this, if I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. So then the question must be, why do you, Jeffrey Philp, love Marcus Garvey? That is a question which, unfortunately, I cannot answer. For do any of us really know why we fall in love with something or someone? I could say that it was because of the time and the place where I grew up. The desire for justice is in the DNA of every Jamaican, and it shows up in our national anthem. Justice, truth be ours forever, Jamaica land we love. The theme of justice and equal rights also shows up in the songs of many singer-songwriters, such as Burning Spear, Peter Tosh, and many more. Can you think of any other country in the world that has pop songs livicated to the idea of equal rights and justice? I could also say it was because of the songs that became the soundtrack of my generation, which extended the idea of equal rights into the stories about us. You can hear this, for example, in Dennis Brown's The Half That Has Never Been Told, and Bob Marley's Get Up, Stand Up, where he sings, "Preacher man, don't tell me, heaven is under the earth. I know you really don't know what life is really worth. It's not all that glitters is gold. Half the story has never been told." Part of telling the half that has never been told relates to correcting all the lies that have been told about Marcus. For example, they would have us believe that Marcus is a crook, a liar, and a scoundrel. But Marcus was way ahead of his time, and he saw things many of his contemporaries couldn't. This is why many people, including his critics, thought that Garvey was insane and an impractical romantic. I will give them the last one. Marcus was an impractical romantic. I mean, who sets up a shipping line in the 1920s when we still can't set up a Black Star Line in 2021? For so long, we've been told our origin story, but we were never the heroes. An African proverb comes to mind. Until the lion tells his side of the story, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Instead, we've swallowed the poison of propaganda with stories that still show us as lazy and unintelligent. And the sad fact is that some of us believe it. Marcus changed all of that. And that is why I'm so passionate about this project and the stories that I tell. For example, in Garvey's Ghost, is the story of a Jamaican mother, Catherine Bailey, and her search for her daughter, Jasmine. After the murder of Trayvon Martin, Jasmine tries to find answers to the many questions she has about her future and her community. But unfortunately, Jasmine's search for answers gets her in some deep trouble. I won't say much more because I don't want to spoil the story for you. But what I will say is that it explores one of the central themes in Garvey's work, which he repeated over and over again. A people without knowledge of their past, history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. As Black Lives Matter has shown, we have to take control of the narrative. We have to tell the half that's never been told. The Black Panther and Wakanda were only the beginning, and we need to embrace the stories of our lives. And no matter your race, creed, color, or background, the clearing of Garvey's name is not just a Black issue. For although it began in the Black community, the clearing of Garvey's name is a matter of equal rights and justice. And if anyone asks, why now? My only answer is, why not now? Aren't you outraged by all the lies that have been told about Marcus? Don't you want to clear the name of a hero who has been praised by Nelson Mandela, Malcolm X, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? This alone should be reason enough for you to sign the petition to clear Garvey's name. This was Garvey's mission in life, freedom, which was fueled by his passion for justice. A proverb says, by the way, Catherine's love interest in Garvey's ghost says this: anyone who plants a tree knowing they will never sit in the shade has understood the meaning of life. Don't you want your children and grandchildren and the many children you will never meet to grow up in a freer world than the one in which we live right now? I hope that you will support our petition to restore Marcus Garvey's good name and that he will again become a household name. Thank you for your time. And as another of my heroes always says, walk good.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Leah. I just wanted to say that for sure, we thank you so much, Jeffrey. We have some conversations that we've been having on social media. And I also received a, excuse me, let me see. There is something in the chat. I believe the Kiwanis Club of Lauderdale Lakes is asking what is the age, the minimum age for signing the petition. And so, Leo, if you can give us that information, I would assume it would be 18 years old.
Has to be 18, yes, it has to be 18 years.
In addition to that, we have the Urban League that is on and is also asking for 3 of the young people to just have, just to be able to say a few words. And I suppose if time permits, Madam Mayor Hazel Rogers, they are asking to say a few words as it relates to the legacy and that value that has been added to their life because of the life of Marcus Garvey. Thank you.
Okay. And I know I've been communicating with our co-hosts, and Michelle, we will determine based on the time, but most definitely, if we can't hear from all 3, I would love to hear from one of the groups. Each of them have one person ready to go as soon as we give that green light. All right. So Urban League, have your person, one person. Change makers, identify your person. And of course, the Kiwanis Club, if you have someone. And that's how we believe we can be fair and keep on schedule at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. We are going to move right along. The UNIA has a message for us here.
Yes. Wow.
Greetings. This is the international organizer and official historian of Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. And I am sending this message to the Congress and to the White House, respectfully requesting that every measure be taken to exonerate the most honorable Marcus Garvey, founder and president of the UNIA and ACL, for a wrongful conviction, which is a crime he did not and could not have possibly committed. And we ask that you also join the world in celebrating a man who's one of the greatest advocates for social justice, staunch proponent of entrepreneurialism and commercial enterprise, as well as a human rights advocate. Mr. Garvey was founder and president of the UNIA in 1914. He organized the largest Black mass movement in the world at a time when Blacks were being lynched and treated as second-class citizens all across the globe. He organized Black people at the time and gave them a sense of dignity and destiny, as Dr. Martin Luther King would later suggest, that Mr. Garvey was one of the greatest leaders who gave us a sense of personhood and some sense of somebodyness. But he not only gave us a sense of pride, he taught us to love ourselves, to think for ourselves, and to start doing for ourselves and break that dependency mentality that many of us had attracted from our enslavement and colonization. And he began to develop enterprises. He began to develop businesses like the Black Star Shipping Line, like a number of hotels and grocery stores and publishing companies and all sorts of industry. In fact, at one point he employed over 5,000 people in the United States. And through his organizing and instilling of pride and teaching self-determination, he angered quite a few people, unfortunately, inside the government and outside the government. Particularly inside the government, J. Edgar Hoover was incensed with his oratory. He thought he was pushing the call for justice a little too fast. And so he directed a number of federal agencies, including the Shipping Board, State Department, et cetera, to take certain actions wrongfully against Mr. Garvey, which ultimately sabotaged his business operations and resulted with a wrongful conviction of conspiracy to commit mail fraud. Now, I won't litigate the particulars of the case right now, and I think my friend Justin Hansford may do that on his video. But it's important to note that Mr. Garvey was not hostile toward America or wasn't anti anybody. You know, in fact, he always told his followers that we're not at war with America, we're at war with hypocrisy and lies, and that we'll fight to the bitter end. And he definitely, warned us never to wholesale condemn any group of the human race for the selfish good of another, and that we all come from one blood, and we all should respect and love one another. Aside from that as well, Mr. Garvey was one who inspired greatness. He considered himself an inspirational agitator. And as such, he, during a time when nations of the world were calling for their own independence politically, Ireland for the Irish, India for the Indians, Marcus Garvey also made the cry of Africa for the Africans. And in doing so, he inspired a number of future African leaders to start thinking about independence for themselves from colonization. So you'll notice that the world over, many people are crediting him for Africa's independence, like the founding president, Kwame Nkrumah, and Nnamdi Azikiwe, and Jomo Kenyatta, and many great leaders throughout the African world credit him for the political independence and the vision that sparked that. People like the government of Jamaica, of course, recognizes him as a national hero. The Organization of American States even, celebrates him as a hero and has a bust in their hall right in Washington, D.C., demonstrating his image and likeness and celebrating his legacy. And it's time that the United States join the world in celebrating this great leader and fighting for exoneration for a crime he did not commit. Thank you. And I leave you with the motto of the association: one God, one aim, one destiny. Greetings.
Hello, everyone. This is Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak to you today. Marcus Garvey was an extraordinary leader who for decades sought to not only encourage Black people to create economic independence, but to also believe that they had the ability to achieve such a lofty goal during a time when we were in a desperate fight for equality.
And it looks like we had some technical difficulties. There we go.
Hello, everyone. This is Congresswoman Frederica Wilson. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak to you today. Marcus Garvey was an extraordinary leader who for decades sought to not only encourage Black people to create economic independence, but to also believe that they had the ability to achieve such a lofty goal during a time when we were in a desperate fight for equality and basic civil rights. He inspired Black activists and freedom fighters across the globe, from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to Nelson Mandela and many, many others, to lead movements that have over time brought significant positive changes to our community and continues to do so. Self-confidence, Garvey believed, is the key to any success. As he famously said, if you have no confidence in yourself, you are twice defeated in the race of life. Those words are as true today as they were when Garvey uttered them so many years ago. Garvey also taught us that the way to achieve power and prosperity is through education, not bullets. Education is the great equalizer. In the past year and a half, pursuing your own educational goals was an unprecedented challenge because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But you pulled through and are hopefully more determined than ever to fulfill those goals and build successful careers. I hope that as you prepare for a new school year or a new job, that you will do so with the confidence that you can achieve anything that you set your minds on and impart that wisdom to everyone you know. Garvey also said, with confidence, you have won, even before you have started. Never, ever forget that. God bless you and God bless America.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, always with a kind word for our program. We are going into a perspective from our children. I believe we had a couple of kids that won a contest, a writing contest. And so Mr. Charles and Mr. Glenn had a conversation with them. And let's take a look.
My name is Petition Joseph. I am a senior at Boyd H. Anderson High School, and I'm 16 years old, and I'm in the IB program, and I'm a winner of the contest.
Okay, what contest is that?
The UniFest Essay Contest.
Got it. Wally?
Hello, my name is Wally Joseph. This upcoming school year, I will be a ninth grader, and I was the second place prize winner for the UniFest Essay Contest.
Got it. Okay. And Richardson, who was that essay about?
The essay was about Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey.
Okay, great. So Marcus Garvey formed the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. Where was the organization formed, and what role did this organization play in the advocacy of civil rights in the United States and the diaspora? I'll let Richardson go first and try to answer that question.
Marcus Garvey formed the UNIA for acronyms. He formed the UNIA and ACL. He formed it in 1914 while he was in Jamaica. And then in 1916, he moved to the United States, where he established a central UNIA ACL branch in New York, specifically in Harlem. And he started the New York division. And I guess the role it had on the African diaspora, you said? Sorry.
The civil rights movement in the United States and the African diaspora.
So it encouraged racial pride and solidarity as a key component of civil rights.
Great. Wally, do you want to share any additional perspective on that answer that Richardson gave?
Yes. So the essay, it was the question, it was about where did Marcus Garvey form the UNIA ACL, and what was the purpose of it being formed. And so he started in Jamaica, and then eventually he migrated to the US, specifically to New York, and then he opened up a division there. And then his sole purpose of starting the movement was to show that Black people and people of African descent, that we can be proud of where we came from, and of where we were going as well, and to be more united and to be more in unison and to be together.
Got it. Did you guys know information about Marcus Garvey before you did the essay, or did you just learn about him for the first time doing the essay? Richardson, you can go first.
No, this is my first time.
Wally?
Yes, this is also the first.
Got it. Okay. So what was the most important lesson learned in completing the essay on Marcus Garvey for both of you? So Richardson, go first.
So the most important lesson I learned was racial unification. And growing up as a black man, there's a lot of racial inequality within our society. And for someone like Marcus Garvey to stand up about that, and for him to essentially want to unify and unite those of African origin, it was very insightful. So that's what the most important lesson that I've learned.
Got it. Okay, so unity is the thing that you took away from that component. Got it. And Wally? You have to unmute. I know you probably had given a really good answer too.
Oh, sorry. The most important lesson that I learned while writing this essay is was mostly to be proud of your roots, because being Black in that day and age, there weren't many opportunities for us, and even if there was, there was always people. There were always naysayers, and you can't listen to that. You have to be proud of where you come from. You have to know that you are worth being treated fairly. And mostly to be proud. Yeah, that's one of the most important lessons that I learned while writing this essay.
Thank you. We are actually going to make sure we post those kids' conversation. They're live on our Facebook page as well, so that you can see the entire thoughts of the children of our generation. Well, I'm trying to be young. But Mayor, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk to the kids that are here right now and engage them on Marcus Garvey.
And Michelle, just quickly, the entire segment is on the website, so folks.
Thank you. Thank you, Gwinnett.
Awesome. I mean, I don't know where to start. I want the kids now. You should have identified the first speaker, and I would like to hear from that young person what they have learned from this conversation, from being on this call with us, this Zoom meeting with us this evening. So who's going first? Who's bold enough? Just because you're on the line, you know that you can do this.
Mayor Hazel Rogers, I will say that I believe it's Bashira Hamilton from the Urban League STEM Ready Youth, a group, and she's pursuing a STEM careers with social awareness and community service. And she will be representing the Urban League of Broward County. And so, Bashira?
Hi, good afternoon. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Bashar Hamilton. I'm a STEM Ready alumni student. I attend Coconut Creek High School, and I'm interested in the medical field, which I want to be in orthopedics as I graduate in the class of 2024. I'm going to be a sophomore this year, and I appreciate you guys inviting me to this event, and I appreciate all the opportunities that I will receive during this event. The topic that you guys brought up today was very interesting. Usually in our today's society, we don't usually get the chance or the opportunity to learn about people that had great effect on the status, or shall I say lifestyle, that we get to live in today. Marcus Garvey, in school, we haven't really basically learned about that topic. Really, it's not really brought up as much. So being able to have like seminars or events held like this is very informative, and I think is very beneficial to the education of kids in today's society, because I think just the world that they see right now is everything that's going to be here, and this is how it was, and this is how they're guaranteed to have it. So I appreciate all the facts and all of the speakers and representatives that were able to share their information that they had about Marcus Garvey.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. And who is the next person?
We're going to move quickly to the next person if we can. And you guys got about a minute each to get in there and let us know your thoughts and how this motivates you going forward.
I can go next. Hi, everybody. I'm Malia, and I'm representing the Kiwanis Club. I'm very grateful for this experience because I did not know of Marcus Garvey before this. So I think that's great that I got an opportunity to get that in. And like the young girl who said before, that in school they don't really teach this, and there was another speaker that was talking about education. So I do think it's very important that this was done. So I want to thank you guys again for that.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent.
Thank you, leader.
And is that it? Or we got one more?
Okay, anyone from Changemakers? Going once. And you know we're going to have a conversation, Changemakers, tomorrow, right? Okay.
Well, thank you, guys, for letting us know your thoughts and how this affected you. And Changemakers, we will hear about it the next time around. We'll have lots of programs for you to make some remarks. We're going to head into Leo. Is that?
And Margaret Lim. She's a poet. She's a poet, and we'll hear on her poetry on this topic.
Join. The Emancipation Declaration is posted on a palm tree that reaches for the sky. Shackles are being dropped in a grave. A boy's whole body grins as he shovels them in. A woman on a bench, a Bible beside her, offers her baby to the sky. A whip, a dead snake, lies under the feet of the man with a jubilant face, jubilant hands. A girl is on her knees in witness to the shackle burial and the celebration. Behind these, the plantation is sketched at Canboulay as the cane fields burn. All hands off deck, juve in jubilant air. There's a ship, distant, unrigged, skeletal, that squats like memory on the sea.
Very moving. We have some talented people out there. And I guess we now also have another talented singer, Mr. Taurus Alfonso.
That make us fight. Like people of the world, it's time we understand. Divide and conquer is our Babylon plan. Many will come and go, many will go, but as leaders we know we'll never run this show. Children, children of Marcus Garvey. Children of Marcus Garvey. When Garvey was alive, he prophesied that the time is gonna come when it will be dread. So when will we see the naked be clothed and also the hungry be fed? Know that the sufferers are run and gone. It's only the righteous who will stand up for all. Children, children of Marcus Garvey. Children of Marcus Garvey. I said children. The time is gonna come when it will be dread. So when will we see the naked be clothed and also the hungry be fed? Now that the sufferers are run and bound, it's only the righteous who will stand up for all. Children, children of Marcus Garvey. Children of Marcus Garvey. Garvey left from Jamaica to the USA and they re-established the UNIA. If only we could see another Garvey today, would we all unite and follow his ways? Oh, how we need him today. Yeah. Children, children of Marcus Garvey.
It's time for us to wrap the evening. What a wonderful evening this was, Michelle. This was such great. We have ventilated this this topic, and most of us and all of us have articulated our points and the facts around all of this. I'm moved. I'm touched, and I hope that once we will take this video, this recording, and we'll distribute it by email to more than 100,000 people across the world, and we hope we can get some persons to sign the petition.
Yes, thank you, Leo, that we are at a wrap, and I am actually going to ask Mayor Rogers to close us out. You, as always, our leader, please lead us out.
Yes.
Thank you, Team Marcus Garvey, Team Emancipation Day. Yes, it's August 1st, and that is it. You have to speak to emancipation before you can speak to independence. All right, so that is where we are. Miss Jean Garvey, Mrs. Jean Garvey. Good to see you, and thank you for your message, because we know what you have written. We know that it's the truth. It is the story, all right? And we should be telling our own story, all right? So I thank you for joining us. And let me say, go ahead.
You're very welcome. This was really, really well needed. We need more young people to be involved.
Well, if you know me, everyone will tell you I love my children. So they're with me in everything that I do. I engage kids because
Yes, I know
recognize
that.
and understand they are going to be here when we are not, and we have to teach them right. So it's good to have our kids from the Kiwanis Club of Lauderdale Lake, the change makers from the city of Lauderdale Lake, and of course the Urban League. And we've been doing this Caribbean emancipation. It's not just Jamaica. It's just that August 1st is the date most Caribbean countries choose to celebrate. And some do it over a 5-day period. All right. And then Juneteenth. It's not just because it's June 19th, but different parts of the United States celebrate at different times. But officially, that is the day. They receive their emancipation notice different times, but they choose to celebrate on June 19th, Juneteenth. And just wanted to mention once again our partners, the Greater Caribbean American Cultural Coalition, Caribbean American Passport, News Magazine, and of course, Caribbean American Passport Multicultural Initiative, the Greater Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce, and then you have the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce out of Orlando, Comfort Care Nurse Registry, Fresco EMAS, Grace Kennedy, Waste Management, and of course, our numerous partners that I might not mention, Jabulani, Jeff, Glenn, Leo, JD Tan, you know, I can't know how to do that. I'm going to turn this back over to you. The ones that I missed, brother.
Charles.
There's
Mayor Rogers, Charles, of course.
Yes, help me, guys.
Yes, and everyone else. You mentioned as well the educational team, all the teams that are helping with this progress and this effort. And so, and again, Mayor, I know that you're being humble and kind and not mentioning your We Care City again. So I'll do it for you. The city of Lauderdale Lakes, of course, with your two colleagues that are on, both commissioners, Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Edwards, as well as the wonderful city of Lauderdale as well, the Kiwanis Club, as you mentioned, and of course, the Urban League.
And before everyone forget, Michelle, 1 minute, before everyone forget, behind this whole production, there is a person who is making sure that everything runs smoothly. So Kimoni Gooden, thank you very much for putting this together.
Yes, we could not get through this evening without her. So on behalf of Leo and myself, we say a clear and heartfelt thank you for joining us this evening.
There's
Good
one
night.
young lady that's not here, and although she's not here, Amaya Lewis, because when we have our children, you know, you have to slap them and then you bring them around with all the love and hugging. And I was with my consul general earlier, and the Prime Minister of Jamaica speak to, he's on this mission, no abusing of children or anyone. So, you know, we can't slap anymore if that legislation passed. So parents, just know another restrictions coming your way. All right. I love you all. Thank you. United, engaged, awesome viewers here today. Awesome engagement. Please connect with us on our email and our website, on our various virtual tools that we will be using. And of course, Thank you, everyone, for spending your Sunday evening with us. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Adio.
Night, night.
Vice Mayor Michelle.
Night.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Michelle.
Mayor. Thank you.
Michelle, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Did I see some little Zoe on?
Good night and thank you. This was wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you, Kiwanis leaders.
Yes, we'll talk. We'll talk.
Thank you. I think I see my niece was on
Yes,
it.
I saw Zoe there somewhere.
Zoe was sneaking in. She was hiding, but we're going to bring her out. Jeffrey, great job, team. Awesome job. We have a lot more to do, so don't get comfortable.
Yes, Mrs. Garvey, I really enjoyed hearing from you.
Thank you so much. This was really so good. Very much needed and very much appreciated. And all the efforts, thanks to everyone who played a role in putting this thing on together.
And
Thanks.
to our leader, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, we are behind.
Oh, yes,
we are
have to big up
mobilizing our
Yvette.
community. We are
Yes.
mobilizing the world. We are going everywhere to make sure we get this done during this session.
Will do.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.